Hello, hello everyone. I'm Gemma Starr and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. This is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my beautiful energetic connection with Kata Judah. Kata Judah is the sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, which is our sacred feminine site. What I'm here to do is to give a platform to our men, asking them to articulate their journey into the heart, to share their path, their experiences, their tools, practices, wisdom, knowledge, insights. What can they bring now to share with other men walking this path? And of course, us women who are walking right there beside them. Today's guest is Peter Bowden, and he is an Australian Indigenous earth medicine man and shaman. So really excited to explore Peter's journey. And he has been out to Kata Judah as well. So let's hear about that experience and what else he can share with us all. Enjoy. Hello, Peter Bowden. Welcome to Heart Warriors.
Hi, Gemma. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing?
Great. Before we get started, I'd like to just offer some sage and a blessing in this space. So if you don't mind,
Love it.
we'll light this sage. Always like to give a bit of a blessing as we get started in these sorts of things. So, yeah, the fire lights the sage for the direction of the east. The shell represents the water for the direction of the south. The sage is grown in the earth for the direction of the west, and the feather is for the element of the air in the north. So we bring the four sacred directions together, we bring the four elements together, and we welcome the grandmothers and grandfathers of the four sacred directions. So we'll just drop in here now. A whole Creator, Great Spirit, is I, your grandson, Wombly Matu. And here in this space, we send a voice of deep gratitude now as we share, as we offer this smoke to our highest and to our divine. We offer this smoke to our Creator, our Great Spirit. We offer this smoke to all that dwells in our highest. We offer this smoke to Pachamama, Mama Earth, to all relations, to all beings, to all that is seen and unseen here on Mama Earth. We offer this smoke to Father Sky, to Grandfather Sun, to Grandmother Moon, to the great Star Nation, and to the great mystery. We offer this smoke with so much beauty, so much gratitude. And here to the four winds, to the east, to the south, to the west, and to the north. Tankeshla grandmother, Tankeshla grandfather. We welcome these grandmothers and grandfathers as we honor the center of the circle. We welcome the original peoples of this land. We give thanks to the Bundjalung Nation. We give thanks to the Midjimble people who walk this land before us. So we honor all Indigenous peoples, both past and present, from all walks of life, on all lands, as we welcome the wisdom keepers and honor the wisdom keepers, those that share the wisdom with us. And here in the center of this circle, we honor every step that has brought us to this space right here, right now. And as we honor this space, we acknowledge each other as brother and sister. And here we acknowledge all of you as brothers and sisters, as we honor every step that has brought us to this space. And here we meet heart to heart. From my heart to your heart, to the hearts of all beings. Aho Matekwiasan. Thank you.
So beautiful. Thank you, Peter.
Pleasure.
That's amazing. I'm just going to turn my phone off because I forgot. I'm so sorry. I don't want the volume going. So here we are in Heart Warriors, and I know we had a little chat earlier because this has been rescheduled, and you did mention to me that you've been to Katajuda. And of course, it's beautiful energies of Katajuda that are with us in this series. So, can we start there? And what were your thoughts, feelings, impressions, experiences of Katajuda?
I've been to Katajuda twice. Once when I was very young, at about 18, and back then I was in a different space, and I wasn't really feeling the energy of the space. But the second time I went, um, it was different. The second time I went, when I first went, we were able to go right through the end of Katajuta out the other side. These days they have the end blocked off. And when I went this time, I had my flute with me, and I wanted to sit and play my flute in there to hear it bounce off the valley. And when I got to the very end, there's a platform there, and there was no one on the platform. So I took myself off the platform and went and sat on a rock over to the side, and I played my flute, and I had no idea of the sense of time, but it felt like nearly 20 to 30 minutes. And I sat with my eyes closed, just playing and, just letting it go. And when I opened my eyes, there was about 20 people sitting on the wooden platform, and they all said, don't stop, please keep going. But while I sat there and I played that flute, it took me to other spaces and other places, and really felt the connection of the land and the valley there. I know that somewhere before I've been there, and it was like coming home. So, especially when I played, yeah.
So beautiful.
So, that was my second experience at Katajuda.
Yeah, it's definitely a special place. So Peter, let's get to know a little bit about you. How would you, in a nutshell, describe the man you are today, the man inside?
Uh, I get no, I guess I know that if it wasn't for the people, the traditional people that I've met over my journey, I wouldn't be here today. And I look back at my journey, and I have to say thank you to my elders and teachers. Because of them, when I met these teachers and I was looking for teachers and things back then, I didn't realize that, if I look at it now, that it was my healing journey. And I honor these teachers and ancestors that have come in to help me journey through my life's healing and my life's journey. But in that, the wisdom that I've received, it's now time for me to share that wisdom and bring it forward for others. So, I honor them for my own healing.
Oh, amazing journey. So, what was happening at your rock bottom point that you were considering other options?
Mm. There was a time in my life where I was about 38, 39, and I was going through my breakup with my wife, and I've had asthma all my life. I was diagnosed with asthma at 18 months old, and I was a very, very severe asthmatic as a child. I got pneumonia at around about 38. My lung collapsed, and I ended up in hospital 14 times one year and 17 times the next year. And at that time, my wife and I had a swim school. We were going through quite a rough time. A lot of things happened. My wife had never drunk before, and she started drinking. And yeah, through that, we lost our swim school. We lost our houses that we had, all that kind of thing. I couldn't deal with it because I was in hospital, and she wasn't coping with it because she was drinking. And in the end, we both walked away with virtually nothing. And at that time, I came out of hospital, and on the Wednesday and on the Friday, I don't even know how the people got my address, but I had debt collectors on my doorstep. And at that stage, I had already spent years going over to Canada to work with Uncle Joe, and I'd met Grey Wolf, my drum teacher, and I'd done my sun dances and my vision quests. And so I'd done a lot of work. But on that particular Friday, when these debt collectors turned up, there was like, yeah, I just wanted to leave the earth. And so I actually, I took an overdose of tablets. And at that time, they were slow release. So it meant it took longer for them to work through my system. I had a choice of 2 bottles, and I took the slow release bottle without even thinking. It was just the one I picked up and took. And if I hadn't taken that one, if I had taken the other one, I probably wouldn't be here. But apparently my sister tried to ring me at that time and got no answer. And so she actually rang the police, and the police found me passed out on the floor. So when I got through that incident, I came home from hospital, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where to start. And so I picked up the drum, and I just started playing it. I got a voice that said, pick up the drum. And so I started to play the drum. And next thing, I get a phone call from an old friend that said that there was a drum circle happening in Roma Street on the Thursday night. So I ended up going to that drum circle to find out that there was another shamanic, a Native American elder, having a gathering the following weekend up on the Sunshine Coast. And that was starting on the Thursday. So I went home, I rang that number and didn't get anybody for a couple of days, and eventually heard from someone on the Tuesday. And they said to me, oh, you can't come. It's only by invitation. And I said, but a friend of mine gave me this number. And she said, oh, how did she get your the number? I said, look, I don't know. I don't know. But I ended up going to that gathering and ended up meeting another teacher there. And I was in that circle for the next 8 years. And did more vision quests and journeying over to Mexico. Did some gatherings with them here in Australia and over in Mexico. One of the people that was actually in that circle, a brother Sunwolf, I had actually met him years ago in Canada through Uncle Joe, and he was quite surprised to see me there. And so I became a big part of that circle for a while. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh, what is it about drumming that's so therapeutic?
I made my first drum about 35 years ago. And when I made it, I really had no idea what I was going to do with it. But I played it for a little while, but didn't really understand it. And then about 8 months after I made that drum, another Native American showed up, and his name was Grey Wolf. And he taught myself and another sister in Berlin how to make drums. And when we made these drums, he showed us 3 times, and the weave was so beautiful that every string in the weave had a meaning, and it was based on the sacred hoop of life. And so to me, when I first started playing that type of drum, and to this day, it's the drum that I teach people to make. And when I first started to play that drum, it was like the connection to everything. And then from there, when I played, I learned to play for song and celebration, for ceremony, for healing, and for shamanic journeying. And so a lot of people don't realize that you can use your drum for a multiple of things. And a lot of people pick up their drum and just to start playing it and have no idea of why they're playing it. To me, it's all about the intention of playing the drum, and why am I playing it? Am I playing it for healing? Am I playing it for shamanic journeying? Am I playing it for song out around the fire, and celebration? And when we're playing it for healing, are we playing it for healing for ourselves first? Okay, because that's where we start when we play the drum. We start with our own healing and learn to play the drum and find our own spirit beat, our own spirit song. And then after we find our spirit beat and our spirit song, we can then start to play the drum for others. And our journey grows from there. So, 35, 36 years ago, I met this beautiful man by the name of Grey Wolf, and thank you to Grey Wolf and the blessing of the drum. I reckon I've played the drum in so many places. I haven't played it at Katajuda. I played it at Uluru.
I played mine.
Yeah. I played mine at Kings Canyon, McDonald Ranges. Yeah, Palm Valley, all out through those places out there. I think Katajuda was the only place I didn't play it. That's where I played the flute.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, it's whatever we're drawn to. I've got a drum. I mean, I haven't really played it. It's sitting right there. Haven't played it, but I did take it out last time I went out there and did a bit of drumming out there. And yeah, and I probably haven't used it since. But yeah, what is it? Is it the vibration of the drum? Is it the sound? When we break it down, what is it? Is it the connection with something else out there? What is it about drumming that's healing when we break it down?
Well, like I said, there's song and celebration. And when we do song and celebration, it's about the beat of the drum. So we're playing the beat for the song. Okay? And that usually raises the energy and the vibration and takes us on a euphoric energy ride, because it's all about opening the heart and, singing and sharing with friends. But when we play the drum for healing and for shamanic journeying, we're playing with the sound between the beats, which is the resonance of the drum. It's the vibration of the drum. So when we're playing with the vibration of the drum, all what we know is we're only sound and light. Our being is only a vibration. And so the vibration of the drum is then able to do the healing work within us and within our luminous body. And as we journey into the healing journey of the drum, we can share that healing with others when we take people out on shamanic journeys. And that vibration of the drum, that resonance of the drum, is what allows us to meet guides, teachers on a higher vibration, allows us to meet our power animals, our animal allies. It allows us to journey between the worlds of the lower, the upper, and the middle worlds. So when we're playing the drum for song and having a great time, that's great. But let's take it to that sound level stage and work with the resonance of the drum and allow that resonance to help us heal and to help us meet.
Fascinating, Peter.
Yeah.
Can you talk to men who might be thinking, wow, this is something I could explore? We're talking to people all over the world here. So how do they get started with drumming? Please talk to those men and what they might be able to expect.
Okay, many years ago, when I first met my drum teachers, I was actually in a biker gang. And when I met my first drum teacher, made the drum, I didn't play it very much. But when Grey Wolf came and he shared with us and showed us how to make the drum, he showed us 3 times, and then Lynn and I had to practice. And we weren't very good at making the drum, so we practiced until we got it right. And he came back about 8 months later and said, yeah, you guys have got it. And then he sat us down and taught us the teachings of the drum. But in that time, when we were making those drums, we didn't know what to do with them. So I kept giving them to the other guys in the gang, to the our brothers. And it was interesting. The first time, I think we'd given about 4 or 5 drums to a few of the guys. And we all went for a ride, and we were all staying out camping. And none of us knew that we put our drums in our packs or anything. We all got out there and we lit the fire, and we were on our own journey, so to speak, when we were out there. But I noticed that a couple of the guys started to pull their drums out. And we sat around the fire, none of us knowing what to do. But we all just started playing the drum. And it just brought us together in a beautiful space of connection. It brought us, we were just making sounds, and, a few of the other guys came and sat by the fire and joined in with us. And, we had a laugh, and we had, we tried to make up songs and all that sort of thing. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we just played together and had a great time with our drums, with none of us knowing what we were doing. And so over the years, it's been interesting. Usually in a lot of spiritual events, you usually see a lot more sisters than brothers. But I have felt that I've had just as many brothers come to me in the drum making as I have with sisters. And I find, I had one guy once in Melbourne. He was a truckie. Now I'm thinking this guy is we were making drums and he wanted to make his drum. And I'm thinking this guy is going to take all day and all night to make this drum. And he came along and he just sat down in the corner by himself. He was the only guy there at this drum making. I think there was about eight sisters. And he did everything. that we shared with him, he was the first finished. And when none of us pick up the drum until everybody's finished. So we don't turn them over until they're finished at the end of the day. And so he had to wait patiently for everybody else. So he decided he was going to go around and help everybody else to finish their drums so that he could turn his over. And so he became kind of part of our team on that day, help others finish their drums. And then he turned it over and he was just like, wow, this is amazing. I've created this. And, I find that drums these days, a lot of people are using them in sound healing work. A lot of people are using them in ceremonial work. And, I have seen brothers play beautiful music, beautiful songs from drums. But what I do say is it takes, like anything, it takes practice. And if you make a drum and if you can pick it up and play it for 15 minutes every day, you're going to be a great drummer. But you've got to do it every day.
Do you just do it intuitively? Like when you're playing for 15 minutes a day? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to get mine out. Well, it's out, but I need to play it more. Peter, you're earth medicine man, shaman. I mean, would you like to give us a very brief background to your family background, your Australian roots, overseas roots, and then we can get into all the wonderful things that you can share with us around that.
So like I said, I met Lakota elders who were my first teachers. And I did a tour with them for 3 months along the east coast of Australia. And that came about because of a friend of mine, Shelley, who went to America and then came back. And we had to ask permission if I could go on a journey with these elders. And the brothers said yes. And so I did a 3-month tour along the east coast of Australia. And they were my first teachers, and they were here to share teachings of the lodge and the drum and some men's work and some sister work. And I remember the very first time that I met them, I was with them for 3 days. And the first day was we were teaching about the medicine wheel. They were teaching about the medicine wheel. The second day they were teaching, we made our drum. And the third day was sweat lodge. Now, I had no idea what a sweat lodge was back then. And because I was in the place that I was in with the brothers, I was, not very, what would you say, present. And so I went into the lodge and I remember that I was screaming my head off going, get me out of here. I don't want to be in here. And they're going, it's all right, Peter, just keep breathing. And they brought me up to the front near the door and they would open the door every so often with some cool air in for me. And there's a sister here on the Gold Coast who was actually at that lodge. I ran into her a couple of years ago and she actually said, Peter, it was like you were a newborn child in your pajamas turning up to something for the very first time. So that was how I started my journey in meeting these elders. Then I met Grey Wolf and then we started the drum making. And then slowly as I shifted away from the brothers, I got married and I decided that I wanted to go to Canada. Both my wife and I, and we had a swim school at the time. And so we decided to shut the swim school through the winter and go over to Canada. And we walked around Canada for nearly 3 months trying to find a teacher. And eventually we found Uncle Joe up in Yellowknife, but he was from Alberta down near Lake Louisa. And sorry, that door's banging. But when he met us, it was snowing in Yellowknife, and we walked up to the gate, and there was a boy swinging on the gate. And we said, "Oh, we've been told that there's an elder here that we can meet, you know." And this boy would have been about 12 years old, and he said, "Oh no, grandfather's not teaching." And from under the trees over here, this wolf appeared, and we looked, and then we realized it was on a chain. And then this old man appeared behind the chain, you know, and he came over to the gate and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, we're looking for old man by the name of Uncle Joe, and we want to ask him if he can be our teacher." And the first thing he said to us was, "You're from Australia, aren't you?" And we said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I've been waiting for you. You're to be my last students." And so for the next 12 years, through the winter, we would go backwards and forwards to Canada and work with him and share with him. And my wife would sit with his wife, and they would do things in the kitchen, and then we would go to different ceremonies. I did 5 sun dances and 7 vision quests. Went to powwow. Yeah, did a lot of other things. But then after he passed, his sons came out. We did a special ceremony for him, and that was when I was going through my breakup and all that kind of thing. So then after that, I met another teacher, Bowden, and grandmother Shamanic, and she was a Apache elder from New Mexico that lived in Mexico, and went across to see her a few times. Had some amazing experiences over there in her gatherings, and then met my South American teacher, and also just after I went through my breakup and things like that, I moved to northern New South Wales. When I went down there, I met some Aboriginal brothers, and they said, "Oh, you've got Aboriginal blood." And I said, "No, I'm just a black white fella." And they said, "No, you got Aboriginal blood." And it was around that time that my grandfather's youngest sister came, and we had a family gathering, and she said to Mum, "Have you told your children our family secret?" And Pop and Auntie Mary and Auntie Alice and all of them were all quite dark, but they always used to say that they were Romany Gypsy. But instead of being Romany Gypsy, they were actually Aboriginal. And their mother, great grandma, was her name was Alice, and she was stolen generation. And so I went through the organization called Link Up, and after about 3 years, found out that my great grandmother was from the Kamagajara mob of the Yorta Yorta people down on the Murray River, and we were the freshwater mob. And so we went back and met the traditional people down there and sat with them and sat with the elders. And it was amazing because what I was able to do was complete a story where when my great-grandmother was taken around the age of 6, they say, and they kept this story going that there was 3 children taken around that same age. 2 of them were taken to Melbourne, and one they didn't know where she was taken. And apparently she was put on a bullock cart and brought up to Brisbane. And she was put in Cherbourg and the Aboriginal mission there. Now, what I was able to do was share the story of great-grandma, and they knew that she was put on this cart and didn't know where she went from there. And so I was able to share the other part of the story of what happened to her. And they kept the story going because the 2 children that went to Melbourne came back home and they found their way back to, their families. But, great-grandma, she never found her way back because it was too far. And so they always kept the story of the 3rd child that was taken all those years ago. And so I was able to complete that story. And, we had a lot of tears and a lot of celebration and, a lot of blessing through the family.
Wow, what
And,
incredible. Oh, sorry.
it was a real beautiful experience. And at first, the rest of my family didn't really want to know much about it. But now a couple of my sisters have sat with me and asked, and, so they now, And I remember the day I got my papers saying that they had found out where my great-grandma had come from. We used to have a corroboree, one of the elders used to have a corroboree out at Rocky River a couple of times a year. And so the corroboree was on the day that I received my papers. And so I drove out there with my papers on the front seat, and I got to the gate, and another Aboriginal brother, David, he used to paint on my drums. He passed away this year, but he was always painting on my drums for me. And I said, "Hey, David." He said, "Oh, hey, brother, you got to pay to come in." And I said, "No, don't, because now I'm a black-white fella." And I got my papers, and he grabbed them off me and ran away to one of the elders. And he said, "Look, we always said Peter was a black fella, and now he can prove it." So that was the day that I got my papers of when they found out where my great-grandma was from. Yeah.
What an incredible story, Peter. Thank you for sharing that. So we've got about 45 minutes left, and I'd like to take this opportunity to get as much of your beautiful wisdom, earth medicine, shamanism out to the men watching as we can. So there's a lot of men struggling at the moment in that place where you were once. We've talked about drumming. What else can you say to them, share with them? Where do you want to take this conversation?
I always say the first place to start is to come back to the land. Come back and connect to Mama Earth, Pachamama. And when you can sit on the land and Mama Earth, she will nurture you, she will hold you, she will help you awaken if you listen. Now, Uncle Joe used to take me and he'd drop me off in different places. And he'd come back 4 hours later in Canada and he said, "Hey, tell me, what did you hear? Or what did you see? What did you feel?" And so I would be sitting on the earth, listening and feeling and dropping into what Mama was telling me, and listening to the winds. And I guess in some ways I've always been lucky that I could hear spirit and I can feel spirit, and I can see spirit. So ever since a child, I've always had that, but didn't know what it was when I was younger. And so it's taken me a long time to develop that. But come back to the earth, and when we come back to the earth, that is when we can start to realize that we can meet the plants, we can meet the animals, we can meet and dance on the earth, we can call in our warrior spirit. And in calling in our warrior spirit, it's not about the ego side of the warrior, it's the heart side of the warrior. In saying that, you know, when Grey Wolf came to us as a group of men many years ago, he brought a dance called the horse dance with us. And he made us dance this horse dance on the earth. And we danced for about 6 hours. And it was interesting to see men dance like that. When I ran the men's group that I ran for 12 years, we called it Sun Lodge. And a lot of the sister work is done with Grandmother Moon. Our journey is with the sun. And so we work with the sun, and our strongest times of the year are the equinoxes and solstices. And a lot of that wisdom has been taken away from us. But we would, when we ran the men's group, we would connect on the solstices and the equinoxes. And we would do things like go out for 10 days on the land and do vision quests and connect into our prayers and sit and sweat and, you know, just really honor who we were in those spaces. You know, a lot of guys had come from broken marriages. Some had come through going to being in the military. You know, some had gone through PTSD, anxiety, traumas, sexual abuse, all these sorts of things that I saw when men came to our men's group. But when we sat and did our vision quests and our healings, and we shared our prayers, and we did our empowerment ceremony where we got painted up and we danced around the fire for 3 to 5 minutes, claiming who we were, you know, fully empowering ourselves, you know, dancing on the earth with our other brothers, supporting us and singing with us, you know, and, you know, we could dance together, you know, and know that we weren't alone, you know, we were there as the journey. We all have our story, we all have our experience of what we've been through in life, you know. It was interesting. I went over to Bali to do a bit of tantric work for myself, some tantric healing, and there was 14 people in the group, 7 men, 7 women. And when we sat down to talk on the first day, and we talked about sexual abuse, 5 of the women had been sexually abused, but all 7 of the men had been sexually abused. And a lot of men don't talk about it. But what I did find out is that a lot of men want to heal those parts of themselves, but are also afraid to talk about those parts of themselves. And so, you know, when we were in prayer in lodge, we were able to share these things. We were able to hold circles. We were able to hold each other in these spaces and let our brothers talk what they needed to go through with us, supporting them. Now, to me, my biggest experience that I've ever done was Sundance. Now, Sundance was a men's rites of initiation with the traditional people in North America. Now, what would happen, originally the men would pierce and the women would not be allowed near the dance arbor in the old traditional times. This day and age, things have changed. We do allow our sisters to come and be a part of the dance, but they don't pierce anymore. But the men still pierce, and we pierce through the chest, and we attach the thonging to the tree, and we usually dance for 4 days, no food, no water, doing sweat lodge in the morning, sweat lodge in the evening, and we're dancing our prayers. We're dancing to surrender the pain, the trauma, the healing. We're dancing to, one of the guys was dancing because he was becoming an elder of his people, and he wanted to surrender anything that no longer served him so that he could be there to be the elder for his people, and we all had our own intentions and we danced, and and there's a lot of dances now in North America, even some of South America, that are happening. I know of only one here in Australia, but this country is not ready to hold Sundance here. The traditional people still aren't ready to allow that dance to come here. But what the Indigenous people say is, come back to the land as well. Come back and sit on the land. We used to do vision quests, and through doing vision quests, we would sit in a circle about 2.5 meters around. No food, again, no water, 4 days, or up to 4 days. Some guys would do 1 day, and then they'd come back the next year and they'd do 2 days. Then they come back the next year and they'd do 4 days. But we would build up, to that. So my feeling with our brothers is, honor our sisters for who they are and the work that they're doing, for themselves. And our role is to be there to hold them. When we were in gatherings with grandmother and Verona and stuff like that, the men were always allowed to be in the ceremony, but we stood on the outside of the circle with our backs to the center of the circle, and we were asked to not allow any other energies to come into that circle that wasn't wanted, and our sisters did the work on the land. And then we were welcomed in. Once the work had been done, we were welcomed in as brothers to meet our sisters in holding that space. And one thing that I really loved is in the blanket wrap ceremony, it's not the men that give the sisters away. It's the mothers and grandmothers that give the sisters away. So, you know, we honour the sisters and recognise them for who they are. And it's only through standing in the strength of the heart warrior that we can honour our sisters. You know, and there's a lot of men out there doing different kinds of work these days so that they can stand strong and support the sisters and, you know, really honour the brothers for doing this work, you know, and more and more now I see more men's gatherings, more brothers getting together, sharing their wisdom, sharing their prayers, sharing their empowerment, and you know, coming back to the places of doing it on the earth. When I was with the men's group down in northern New South Wales, some of the guys wanted to go and meet some of the Aboriginal brothers and have a weekend with them. And so a couple of us went to the elders and said, what do we need to do to come and meet you? And at first they were a bit reluctant to go, no, we don't want you to come and meet us. We don't want to share with you. And we said, why? You know, what is the problem? And they said, well, one, you don't know how to dance on the earth. Two, you don't know how to honour the earth. And three, you're always taking from the earth. Okay? And so we said, okay, what if we change that? What if we could meet you in some of these ways? What if we learned to do our own dance to meet you? And I said, how do we need to dance? And they said, well, we come together and tell our stories through the animals to dance, you know? So when they're dancing the kangaroo and the eagle and, you know, that sort of thing, they're dancing their stories. And so we got one of the brothers who was a didge player. And so we decided to work out what our Australian animal totem was. And we did some journey work on that and found our Australian animal totems. And we were able to then dance them. And so we asked one of the brothers to come and show us how to dance the animals. And they showed us. And then we said, okay, so instead of taking from the earth, what can we bring? And so we bought different things for not just the brothers, but for the community that they needed in the community. And so we gave those as gifts to the community. And then the other one was connecting to the earth, you know, and we just learnt to just sit on the earth and feel what was going on. And so after about 2 months of the guys practicing, we said, okay, the guys feel that they're ready. Can they come and meet you? And they agreed. And we went and we met these Aboriginal men. And some of the guys actually wanted to be initiated. So some of the guys got their chests cut around the fire. And some of the guys, you know, they, well, when it was time, when we got later into the night and, you know, we started into the dancing and stuff like that. So our didge player played for our men to dance. Well, their man danced with their didge player first, and then we danced to meet them, and we kind of went backwards and forwards, sharing a couple of our own stories that we'd put together as brothers on the land, and we were able to meet them, and we spent 3 days with them, and by the end of it, they were taking us out, showing us a bit of hunting, and we ended up eating a goanna, kangaroo or wallaby it was, and we shared with them. So it was really beautiful to have that experience. So to meet the traditional men here and those that are still in community, we've got to look at them as equals. They feel like a lot of them have been put down and not respected and not honored, and it's when we can sit with them and meet them in an equal place that they will share with us. And I guess that's why in this country, a lot of their wisdom has not been shared, because they haven't been met as equals. And I see that with other cultures around the world, the one thing that I've really loved in this journey is I've met other shamans from around the world. And one of the funniest times was I met a Siberian shaman named Bowden, and he came to Australia not knowing any English. And we first met, and we had 2 weeks together, and he stayed with me for 2 weeks. And I couldn't understand a word of what he was saying, and he couldn't understand a word of what I was saying. But we had the funniest time ever. We laughed so much. And he was always asking me what things were. And, and as a brother, I was trying to explain to him what things were, and he was trying to tell me what he knew them as. And I took him out onto, different parts of some lands, and he really enjoyed connecting to the land here. And when he went home, I gave him a kangaroo drum to take home. We had a gathering for the blessing of the kangaroo drum. Now, the kangaroo drum, when I gave it to him, was only 3 days old. Normally, I don't give a drum till they're about 7 days old, because I like them to have a curing period. He passed this drum around to there was about 60 people there, and everyone put a word in for blessing. Now, he received the drum from me, and I have never, ever seen anyone yell or play a drum as loud as he did. But he came from his warrior space. He played this kangaroo drum as loud as he could, really letting go of whatever it was that he was holding in this space, and he just surrendered to it. And I was sitting there going, because kangaroo hide is really quite thin, please, drum, don't break. Please, drum, don't break, And, but he showed me, and since then I've also taken brothers out on land. And when we're going through trauma, we pick up the drum and we play the drum and we just let it out, and I have done that with so many people, not just brothers, but with sisters as well. And, some people start to play the drum and it's a bit wishy-washy, a bit wishy-washy, and okay, come on, let's play it properly. Let's really, get into it a bit, and honor this drum, and honor what we're doing here. So there's, the way of the drum, which I think is a great medicine. There's a way of the connecting to the heart and to the dance. There's the way of sitting on Mama Earth, Pachamama. Then there's also the way of the plants. And the plant medicines, again, when we truly open up into these medicines and ask them, through our intention to hold us, to support us, to help us let go of what it is that we're letting go of, these medicines will truly support us. They will really help us heal. But what I see is a lot of people want to also be on the trip. They want to come from what we call the cowboy way instead of coming from the heart way. And, there's always different ways to meet our plant allies and our animal allies. But I really feel, when we can be held in a space where it's coming from the heart, where it's coming from the connection to the earth, and where the intention is strong within the circle that is being held, the container, the medicine will do the work in its own way. Yeah. And if you are looking for medicine to help you on your journey, brothers, I do suggest you really seek out those that have been working with medicines for, a long time. Those that have been around, that have seen it, have worked with it. Don't just sit with it with anyone. Be able to find those that are strong in these medicines, because, we can support you really well with what you're going through.
And I know this is plant medicine is a growing area of awareness, that has been the powers that be have sought to suppress. And we're seeing how powerful it is. I mean, even in this series now, I've interviewed men who have done the ayahuasca or the mushrooms or whatever, and pretty much received a rapid healing rather than, years of therapy.
Absolutely.
Can you talk on that, please, Peter?
Okay. Over the years, I've been working probably with plant medicines now for about 15 years. And over the years, I have had many men come to me. I work with Grandfather Wachuma. I work with Cambo, the green monkey tree frog medicine, Vape Sananga, and I'm working with mushrooms now as well. And, I've had a lot of men who have come through PTSD and a lot of anxiety work who have used the medicines for microdosing. We've also used the medicines for releasing deep trauma. Now, I once had a guy, another brother and I were holding a Cambo circle in Melbourne. And this brother came along and he was getting married, but he wanted to release the trauma of his childhood that he had been carrying for a long, long time. And at that time, we had had our first black bucket. And what I mean by a black bucket is when people purge with Cambo, we have different colors. Like a yellow bucket is like, with the purge, is like toxins and minerals that we're getting out of the body. A greeny yellow bucket is emotional release. An orange bucket is starting to get into our deeper traumas. And a brown bucket is traumas from childhood and things like that through the purge. Now, recently I just had a brown bucket with one of the brothers that purged some of his trauma from childhood. But we did this circle and we'd only ever seen one other black bucket in the world as far as we knew. And this guy purged this deep, dark stuff that came out of him. And it was amazing to see the release that he had afterwards. And that was on one sitting of Cambo. My suggestion is, if we are doing releasing with Cambo, is try and sit 3 times with it, a minimum. There's many different ways. I worked with the medicine of Cambo with 2 other brothers, and we wanted to do 13 moons and 13 new moons. So we wanted to sit twice a month for 13 months, 13 moons. And every time we sat together, each sitting was totally different, but each sitting was in honor of our intention. And so we found that when we really honor the intention and speak the intention clearly and simply, that the medicine will work alongside of that. And we, all 3 of us, got to our 11th month, 11th moon. We all sat our 11th moon. So we've done new moon. So we've done 22 sittings so far in that year. And we got to that point where we had decided we couldn't do anymore. But we all came, one was up on the Sunshine Coast, one was down in northern New South Wales, and I was also down in New South Wales, but in a different place. And none of us actually talked about it, but we all came to the same conclusion, that we didn't want to sit anymore, because we felt we'd done enough. We'd really sat with our intentions and done enough with the medicine. To me, there's a lot of medicines out there. And when you work with them, and there's a lot of medicine weekends that are out there. When we work with these medicines and when we work with them, we're there to look at our own healing. We're not there to look at the psychedelic euphoria of the medicines. To me, medicine is medicine. We're here to work with medicine. That's why the drum is called a medicine drum. We're here to work with the medicine of the drum, the alchemy of the deer, the alchemy of my sacred breath, the alchemy of the wood, the alchemy of the people that have gone into the drum making with me. And then that becomes the medicine of the drum. And the more I work with the drum, the more I work with that medicine. And I find these days, I don't have to take people on a medicine journey. I can take people on a drum journey, a medicine drum journey, but I still find that there's a time and a place for our plant allies as well. And, I'll probably never, ever stop sharing those, and I'll never stop sharing the medicine of the drum. And, just my suggestion to you is just seek the people who have been doing it for a period of time. Okay? Don't try and do it yourself. Go out there if you really want to look at doing your healing. And I've worked with a lot of people through anxiety, PTSD, trauma, those kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you. Peter, you spoke about the heart, and I loved you even said heart warrior, and that was coming from your elders, if I remember, in Mexico. From all your teachings in Australia, in Canada, in South America, Central America, what are the teachings around the heart and men?
what I have seen with the men through traditional spaces, and even men from the Western world that come and join us, and even for myself, there was a time when I was really angry in my life, and like I said, I've had to go through. I was on a destructive path, actually, in my life, my younger years. Yeah, I didn't want to be here on the planet. I wanted to take myself off the planet in some of the most destructive ways I could think of. But then I met these traditional people, and I saw a different way. These men that came and found me, and I found them, and then they showed me the way of still being strong as a man and being able to honor who I was as a brother and as a father and, as a man, but also to keep myself in my own heart space, to keep myself in my own understanding of who I was. I'm like every other brother out there who, we all go through times of trauma and emotion and release, and things that want to take us down at times, but it's coming back to that connection to the earth. It's coming back to that connection to the heart. It's coming back to the connection to nature, knowing that we are never alone. There is loneliness, but we are never alone in this world. Because when we open our eyes, we can see the butterflies dancing. We can see the lizards sitting on the concrete. We can see our plant allies growing there before us. We can see the stone people, Catatusa there, behind you. The stone people hold the memory of all that has gone before them. And when we sit and connect into those memories, how ancient they are. They've seen, Mama Earth come and go, and the people come and go, and the animals come and go. They've seen all that, and they're still there. They hold that memory, so we can come back and ask them, for their memories, and, why do you still sit here? What's your intention of sitting here as a grandfather stone, and what is your intention of, being a grandmother tree here on Mama Earth? Go give a tree a hug. Let her tell you, let him tell you, So heart to me is staying in that space of centeredness. Yes, we get angry, but yes, hold that centeredness as well. And when we stay in that centeredness, we can be there to hold not just ourselves, but those around us. And to me, that's what Heart Warrior is about. It's
yeah. Thank you, Peter. We'll start wrapping up now, but there's two things that I'd like to ask you to do. One is to deliver a final message to men, but also I'm wondering if you would like to play your drum for us, and whichever order you want to do that in.
All right. Let's play the drum first, eh? So we say that the drum is the feminine and the drum beater is the masculine. And we bring the two together in sacred union to create the sound. So what I have here is a horse drum. And horse is about power and freedom. So when we play the horse drum, the medicine of the horse comes through. I will show you something really special with this drum in a minute. Oh, 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 oh,
Amazing. I put you on full view for that. See if I can get back. Here I am. Oh, thank you, Pete. Unfortunately, Zoom isn't the best at picking up the sound of the drum, but we got it in the end.
Yeah, I found that Zoom has always been a bit of a struggle to get the sound of the drum. Yeah.
But I definitely felt it in the heart, that vibration. That's where it definitely touches there, doesn't it?
It does. And
So,
this is the thing, like when we play the drum, come back to the resonance of the drum, the sound between the beats. And if you are going to purchase a drum, don't look for the beat of the drum, look for the resonance of the drum, the sound between the beats. Yeah, yeah.
love it.
So, final message. So I say to brothers who are looking, who are seeking, who are just ready to open in this time of change. We know that the world is going through a big time of change now. And we see that there is a division in this world. And there's those that are walking away from the constraints of this world, the world that has been created, the illusion of the world. And it's time now to feel that connection of Mama Earth under our feet, to come back to the earth, to come back to the way of the heart, to come back to the way of, I guess, the heart warrior. We don't need to be in a monetary cycle anymore. let us come back to a way of living where we come back to community, come back to feeling the land and sitting on the land. And I'm not saying to come back to the old ways, because it's not time for the old ways anymore. The old way dreaming is gone. And now there's a new way dreaming. And it's not even a new way dreaming, because the dreaming is here right now. And the dreaming is what we can create and manifest. We're moving away from the 3D into the 5D. And as we journey into that 5D, let us feel our strength. Let us feel our power. And let us walk hand in hand with our sisters, heart to heart, connecting as one. So I ask this of you, my brothers, to share in this way. From my heart to your heart. Oh. Thank you.
That was a beautiful message, Peter. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to connect, or what can do you help men in any way if men are on this journey? And I know you're based in Australia, but even you might have North American, South American connections. What can you offer men that are seeking this path?
To connect with myself, my website is www.shamanicearthmedicine.com.
Put it.
Yeah, we've got that there. Okay. So I live in Currumbin on the Gold Coast, so people can find me here. There's a lot of things I'm doing in the way of sweat lodges, drum makings, medicine journeys, sound journeys, one-on-ones, so people can connect with me there. I'm also restarting my shamanic school again next year, and so watch out for that. It'll be launched in February, and it's ready to go to a new level next year. So you can work with me in that way as well. I'm hoping to release my book next year, my first of 3. Yeah, that will be something to look out for next year. If you are journeying to North America, in the peak of summer, usually a lot of the sun dances are held. And if you are interested, I am able to possibly link you up with some brothers that can share the wisdom of Sundance. If you are heading to South America, a lot of the elders that I know from there are now passed, but there are still some amazing brothers and sisters, elders down there. Just seek the right ones out. And, I guess when you are traveling around the world and you are seeking to meet a guide or an elder or a teacher, just keep putting it out there and allow them to come, because what we say is when the student is ready, the teacher will show themselves. And I never knew when my teachers were going to show up, but they did, and I feel very blessed and honored that they did. So, in honor of them, just thank them now. And, thank them for this amazing journey of life that I have been on,
Yeah.
and every step that has brought me to this space.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Pete. It's been such an honor. And, you know, the first time we've had this information on Heart Warriors, so I'm feeling very blessed. Is there anything we need to do to close this sacred space, or are we do? Okay.
I'm going to light a bit of Palo Santo. I like to use sage at the beginning, and at the end I like to use the Palo Santo because of the sweet smell, and the sweet smell of the Palo Santo sweetens our prayers as we release the grandmothers and grandfathers. So just as we drop into this space now, we connect firmly to Mama Earth, Pachamama, Mama Gaia. We thank this space for holding us, for sharing with us. We thank any guides, teachers, ancestors, allies that have come through into this space and that have shared through myself or through Gemma. May they journey now to wherever they wish to journey to. As we release this space, as we honor this space, as we honor all brothers and sisters who journey in this space with us, when you come to the end, may you journey to wherever you wish to journey to from this space here. From my heart to your heart, to the hearts of all beings, as we connect to Pachamama, we give thanks with so much gratitude, so much beauty. Aho Matekwiyasan. Aho. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Hey, thank you for watching, everyone. If you could please like, share, subscribe, get Peter's beautiful message out there for our men and, of course, any women watching as well. Peter, if you could just stay on, please. Bye, everyone. I'll see you in a few days with another Heart Warriors.